Native turtle populations in the southern Murray River are in decline. They may even face extinction, according to a new report.
The decline was first predicted over 30 years ago, but a combination of factors, including funding, drought and disease, has pushed our native species to the brink of extinction. Associate Professor of Ecology Ricky Spencer from Western Sydney University was part of the study, and he joins us now in the studio. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Good morning.
How bad is the situation for those turtles?
We are now seeing common species becoming locally extinct. So around 30 years ago, it was predicted that there'd be a decline. We're now seeing that decline. We're actually seeing 60 to 90% declines of common species. These weren't considered critically endangered species, but they're going and they're gone.
What does it mean for a species to be locally extinct if it's still widespread in other areas? How close do you have to look at it to say, well, it's extinct in this little patch, but not this patch? Yeah,
so throughout South Australia, where they were catching thousands in populations, they're undetectable now, so they're not being caught. What we're seeing further up in New South Wales and Victoria, we're actually seeing really, really old turtles. There are no juveniles because of foxes.
And is that everywhere, or are there patches of Australia where this species is still prevalent?
Look, it's everywhere. We're still seeing the species there, but they're all old. They're all 50 to 100 years old, largely because foxes destroy about 95 to 100% of nests every year.
You've actually brought in a shell here, and this was the victim of a fox as well. So it's not just the babies the foxes are targeting, but also the adults.
Yeah, absolutely. So this turtle is around about probably around about 30, when we first caught it in 1996, alive, about 30 years old. It's probably around 50 years old, another 20 years. In the last 20 years, it's been killed by a fox, probably coming out to nest, because they don't only destroy the nest, they'll actually turn the females over and eat the females as well.
How old do these turtles normally live?
It's hard to say. We know at least 50 years, but probably beyond 100 years, some of these big turtles there.
Right, so for every one that a fox takes out, that's a long lifespan that's being extended.
And if you think about it, they're producing about 30 eggs per year. Living 100 years, that's a lot of reproductive potential coming out of the population.
Yeah, right. What are the other threats that they're facing?
So there are there are a number of threats, particularly in South Australia. What we saw in the last millennium drought around 2009, 2010, we found huge numbers of turtles with essentially almost like coral around there. They were actually being entombed by marine tube worms. So basically these are saltwater marine parasites getting into the freshwater system because it became so salty. We've all heard about the salinity down in South Australia. Killed tens of thousands of adults, and with predation from foxes, they're not being replaced.
So there's that. There's also disease, right? There's also road mortality.
Absolutely.
that you talk about. Are any of these factors reversible?
Absolutely. So it's hard to get rid of foxes. The standard baiting, what we've seen, and shooting, and that those sort of techniques don't really work that well for turtles, because if we think about it, the turtles come up and nest on the banks, leave their eggs, and then it's easy for a fox to find. So you only need one or two foxes that actually does all the damage. So what we're looking for is that, as I said, they produce around 20 or 30 eggs per year. If we can actually just target areas and nesting areas in particular areas, particular regions, we can actually save those eggs.
How would you save them? Would you take them into captivity and try to hatch them there? Or
that's one way, but we could actually just put fences up around some areas. We can actually create artificial islands, those sort of things. We can harness, the actual potential of areas like urban wetlands and where you've got less foxes and those sort of issues, where we can actually target these nesting beaches. So we all see the images of marine turtles coming up on beaches, mass numbers. Freshwater turtles do it to some degree. They'll have spots where they like to nest, and we can actually just target those small areas.
And what do turtles contribute to the ecosystem? So what, therefore, do we stand to lose if these numbers keep declining?
Yeah, absolutely. They are the vacuums. So they're the scavengers. Anything that dies. So particularly with these Menindee fish gills, they're the workers in the system right now. They'll be cleaning it up if there's still any out there. And so we've got these state-of-the-art wetlands, experimental wetlands out at Western Sydney, where we're actually replicating fish kills, and we're putting turtles, crayfish, those sort of things in there, and the turtles are by far the most efficient. So what takes a month for, say, one fish to break down without turtles, they're gone in 2 or 3 days.
Ricky, great to talk to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Good on you.